spend my time coding, I would do only coding. It pushed me in a lot of different places in my life, and not really good for modern world. I was working very long hours to catch up.
What are the challenges that today programmers face?
What you've been taught at school yesterday may no longer be the case today because the world is moving. Programmers are having really tough times catching up on those requirements.
Today we have different AIs that help programmer. What are your thoughts around these programs?
This type of things at work make people less creative. It's actually wasting potential of people. People in general are scared of change. It's hard, it's time consuming, it's lengthy. It was something that I couldn't refuse. We have what it takes.
Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of the AI Best Business Show, the show where you'll best learn about business, tech, and entrepreneurship. Today I have with me Kamil. He's the co-founder and CTO in a startup we're going to talk about during the episode. Kamil, welcome to the show.
Welcome, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Kamil, what age did you start coding at?
Well, it's hard to say what age. Look, I always had different approach to computers. I remember when I got my first PC, it was in high school, and all my friends were into playing games. I thought it was, hit at that time. I was busy with tearing it apart and checking what's inside and upgrading RAM and hard drives and everything. But when it was working, I was interested in software, how it works, what's the operating system, and mind you, viruses. It was the beginning of the internet, so I was very curious. How does it work? How it can break your PC? When I first started coding, I would say it was at the university. My first serious coding classes started at the university. It was C++, it was OpenGL, a little bit of PHP, but not so much really. So around.
What made you, like you said, your friends were interested in playing games, you're interested in taking off the computer and putting it back on and like putting it together. What made you interested in that part rather than playing games just like your friends?
It's a good question. I think it was inspired a little bit by my father. His job was fixing all the electrical devices, and back in those days, in Poland, we only started getting TVs and DVDs and everything. So I think a part of this was inspired by him, and I was interested more in hardware. And actually, it pushed me in a lot of different places in my life. This interest in hardware and software pushed me in a lot of places that otherwise I would never go. I'll tell you later on about it.
Okay. From there on, you started coding in university. What did your journey look like up until today?
So I started coding at the university. I went to applied computer science. It was master's degree. At my last year, I left the country. My last year, I finished studying remotely. I went to United Kingdom, and then I got my first job offer as a junior programmer. And that was my first experience. I was working in a company called Friola. I remember boss back then, Tony Rainbird, great guy, really. He gave me a chance working and learning PHP, although I didn't have really much experience taken from the university. So I continued my interest in learning JavaScript, Flash. I remember back in those days, we were also doing Flash websites, very heavy, not really good for modern world. I was continuing my interest in hardware. I was participating in programs like SETI at Home and other open source projects. I also developed my interest in mining machines and cryptocurrency mining. So I was putting hardware together. Good days, really good days.
Different from what's happening now, huh?
Exactly. Well, that was year after Bitcoin was officially, I would say, discovered or announced to the world.
Okay.
But 1 year later, I started building mining machines with graphic cards and good days.
Good day.
So really, my first programming experience I got in the United Kingdom.
Okay.
at Friola. I was working, to be honest, they gave me 3 months to prove myself. I was working closely with Andrew Hunt, who was my idol back then, really great coder. So he taught me a lot. The team was very supportive. I was working very long hours to catch up and get the knowledge that I didn't get at my university. And after 3 months, I was officially employed and I was promoted and I stayed a long time with Friola. And I started loving PHP. Friola was a company offering internet services. So I had a chance to learn what's DNS, how the infrastructure looks like, and what actually can be achieved using PHP and other programming languages.
Okay. Uh, you had a long career as a coder programmer before you kind of became a more manager. What are the challenges that today programmers face in our world? Uh, it, you mentioned something that some of the stuff you learned on the job you didn't learn at the university. And from speaking to different people who are programmers or CTOs, I always hear this that a programmer learns on the job sometimes. He gets a project that he hasn't worked on before. He goes in and he researches and he does it. So, what are the challenges programmers face in general?
I think this was always been the case because the world is moving.
Okay.
So the requirements are changing every day. What you've been taught at school yesterday may no longer be the case today. Every day first of all, we are getting new tools that we have to learn how to operate and how to make best use of it. And on the other hand, the world became global very quickly. Before, most of the companies were more local, so the requirement for infrastructure for everything was not so sophisticated, I would say. But nowadays, the world is moving so fast that programmers are having really tough times catching up on those requirements.
What are your thoughts today? We have the Replit Copilot program. We have ChatGPT today. The different AIs that help programmer. What are your thoughts around these programs? Are they making your life easier, harder? Uh, are they good tools to use?
You're asking someone who started coding in Notepad plus plus. 18 years ago, we didn't have these tools, and I must tell you, life was really tough. Myself, I witnessed development of many programming tools, and it's really amazing what people create nowadays. I know myself that coding quality and the comfort of work, everything becomes so much easier thanks to companies like Replit. And ChatGPT is a whole new story. Actually, we can make a separate podcast about it. We decided to go with tools with JetBrains, which offer really great support in coding and development process deployment. So having everything in one place is something I cannot really compare to 18, 20 years ago.
Do you think these programs will take over developers, or would they always be the assistant?
No, I don't think they will take over because for me, programming is something more than just writing code. The whole idea behind it, the structure, is something that, 10 years ago, I believe we started object-oriented programming. So I don't think machines will be able to take over designing, functional blocks of code anytime soon. So I do believe we still need a lot of good programmers around. But I also think that writing lengthy code, it's no longer the case. Over the last few years, we have seen very rapid development of libraries, of frameworks. All of these tools, they make it a whole different experience.
Okay. You went from being a programmer doing the day-to-day programming to kind of a manager role, CTO. How does the job description differ? Like, what are you doing as a CTO or project manager different from what a programmer does?
When I started, I never had the full overview on business development and requirements from the business side. So I was more focusing on, like I mentioned before, creating functional code. Now, as a CTO, my job is to oversee everything from the infrastructure to service performance monitoring, As well as recently at the cloud, we moved our monolithic system into microservices. So the functioning of the whole microservices, that's something that's completely different from programming. But I must tell you, whenever I can, I really enjoy sitting and writing code. It's such a peaceful job comparing to the whole hassle of maintaining big infrastructure.
Right. And uh, funny story around that. We also, when Elon Musk took over Twitter, he went back and he started like he asked this question: who has, like, all the project managers who has written code in the past 6 months? And he looks back and barely any project manager has written code after 6 months. And it's weird because I mean, as a programmer, I know a lot of programmers, they have a passion to sitting there and putting in the code and like fixing the bugs and all that. And then some project managers, they get up there and they forget about all coding and they just focus on the business aspect.
I have the same. Honestly, if I could spend my time coding, I would do only coding.
I hear that.
Anytime I can, I will create some, shell scripts to automate something here and
Right.
there. But to be honest, managing and or being a CTO is so demanding that hardly ever I can find time
Okay.
for coding nowadays.
What are the major differences in how you overview stuff? Here you're looking from a business side. There you don't see the over picture. If you could tell us in the details of like how, as a CTO, how are you looking at a business? How are you looking? What are you looking to achieve?
Um, My main goal, I would say, and something that I'm trying to put on my team as well, is automation. So
Okay.
everything that we can automate within the company, we try to automate. That includes all aspects of the business, from acquiring the customer to through the whole process until the final sale happen. We aim to automate 100%, but not just that, but the tasks that we have on a day-to-day basis, including monitoring, simple monitoring, that also we tend to automate. I believe that it makes life whole easier if things can happen automatically instead of people doing, boring 9 to 5 job, repeating same tasks over and over again. I think this type of this type of things at work make people less creative. It's actually wasting potential of people. So we try to automate everything we can and use the talent of people for more creative tasks.
Okay. Let's say if I want to go jump on the business side right now. Let's say I'm a startup founder. I meet Camille, I see his profile, he has an amazing career, and I'm kind of at my startup, I'm taking the sales business development side, and I don't have any programming part to me, but I really want to build this startup, and I meet you. How can I persuade you to join my startup and be my co-founder and build the startup together? You from the technical side, me from the business side. Is it equity? Is it the mission? What would persuade you to join me?
It seems like you could at the same time ask me a question how George convinced me to become his partner.
This is kind of where I'm going. So
Because this is exactly what happened at the time when I met George. Actually, I met George back in 2013, but at the time when we started talking about the cloud, I had my own company, Network Solutions, and we've been working with a lot of clients here in the UAE. With George, we first started an e-commerce project, which was totally not related to the cloud. And then when George approached me with the idea of the cloud, it immediately like sparked, because first of all, I saw the potential. Second of all, I saw the challenge. I saw that it's not no longer, e-commerce website that it's more local or a little bit international. It's something that will unite kitchens from all over the world. So you can, as a programmer, as a CTO, you can imagine my vision for the systems that we will create. It was something that I couldn't refuse. I believe if you're an entrepreneur and you have an idea like this, you will really attract best talent, people who like challenge, who are not scared of building something new, something big, and innovate at the same time.
so you joined this startup, and it's a startup, so there's no kind of big paycheck coming in. How do you think, like, in the mental state of, okay, I'm gonna wait until we get the startup big to get paid and all that? Like, how do you go through that thinking?
It wasn't about the paycheck at that point in
Okay,
time. None of us thought um, exactly what's going to happen in the future. We only knew that we have what it takes.
okay,
George is very good in business development. I'm good in technology. We knew that these are the only two aspects that we need in the beginning to make cloud successful.
right.
We didn't worry about the money, although we do had difficult difficult times. But this idea of achieving it was much more important than paycheck at that time.
Okay. So you kind of sit and have this conversation. What are the gaps you saw in the market that told you, okay, the cloud is the startup to go and build?
Well, there is a lot of gaps in F&B industry. I would say starting from the software that they are using and ending on insights that they are getting on their own business performance. Over the last few years, I think software tries to catch up with F&B industry. So there is a couple of companies who released better POS systems. Um, but still, I see that there is a big gap. Let's not forget, restaurants, they are great in cooking. They have chefs with 20, 30 years of experience, but they don't have any idea about marketing, boosting their visibility on the aggregators like Deliveroo, Talabat. Um, and here is the thing: they shouldn't have marketing experience. It's not their job. Things like this should be already provided by modern systems. They should tell them which food we should promote and where and how, and they shouldn't create marketing departments just to grow on these platforms.
Is it hard approaching a restaurant and convincing them to move, to improve their software stack and improve their uh, data and visibility?
Yes. So if we asked, or if you try to ask any kitchen to upgrade anything, they are very reluctant to do any changes.
Okay,
Still, moving data from one software to another is hard. It's time consuming. It's lengthy. Training people also takes time. So usually, if a kitchen already started, restaurant started with one type of software, they carry on, year after year. They have no idea how much they are missing out on other opportunities. But I think people in general are scared of change. They are very comfortable using what they have, and it takes a little bit of time to convince them that the world moved on.
okay. From a from a technical standpoint, when you go in and try to make it simple for the restaurant owner, okay, we're gonna take this data and transfer it to a better software, better system. How do you approach this conversation?
Well, first of all, we don't.
Okay,
But we know that it's a challenge, and we never ask our kitchen partners to change anything that they have. We come as an additive business. We give them access to cloud dashboard where they simply log in and they can start getting our orders. Whatever insights we provide, and we're adding more and more, it's just out of the box. They are free to explore it, they are free to use it, but they don't have to, because
okay,
we as a company, we're taking care of marketing and growing sales for that restaurant. So this is why we took this approach. We're not trying to change anything that they have at the moment that they use, although we can help. If there is a restaurant that wants to make some changes, they have multiple locations and they want to be able to manage it in a better way, yes, we can help them also.
okay. I'm gonna ask deeply about what is the cloud and every like I'm gonna take the cloud and chop it up and I'm like gonna let you explain it for me. But before that, I just have a question. What is like you started the cloud, you're working with George today. How is that relationship between the founder and the co-founder, the CEO and the CTO? Like what does that relationship? Where do the challenges happen? Where do the clashes happen?
So George is very passionate. He was always very passionate about the business, and this was the first thing which I noticed when I met him back in 2013 or 2014. Um, I met him, by the way, when I was CTO for one of the startups in Dubai, a company called Mini Exchange, later on rebranded to Spree. So I got in touch with George with regards to his father's shop that he's having here for more than 40 years. Later on, when we started the cloud together, I knew that that business needs people like George, people who will not stop, people who are not scared of challenges, and whatever challenge we had, we tried to overcome together. Of course, we had tough times, especially that George, to drive business development, he needs a lot of tools.
Right.
So of course there is this limitation of the technical team of what we want to have and what we can provide at a timely manner. But I guess I would say that we both support each other. I try to do my best to give him tools that he needs. He tries to give me insights on the tech requirements from the business perspective that he needs the most. And we try to make things happen as best as we can.
Okay. Jumping back to the cloud, what is the cloud? Like, I'm a restaurant. I want to use your platform. Explain it to me. Take me through the process of, okay, what can I do when I use your startup?
So as a cloud, we come as an additive business model. Like I said, if you had your own restaurant, and you came to us or we came to you, what we offer you is to utilize your excess capacity. So we realize that a restaurant on average has around 40% of excess capacity. To put that into numbers, it means roughly that 12 days in a month, your people in a restaurant are not doing anything. They are just waiting for orders or waiting for customers. As you can imagine, for you as a business owner, this is a pure loss. You're paying costs for the restaurant, you're paying salaries, you're paying electricity, everything, but you're not selling, you're not producing, right? So when we approach the kitchen, we tell them that we want to take this excess capacity and turn your pure loss into profit.
Okay.
For them, the whole onboarding process is as easy as signing the document, because we send them photography team, we provide packaging, and we have customer service, and we organize delivery. So the only thing that kitchen has to do is to prepare the best food they can, and that's something that of course they have the best experience in. So this is what we do. So we use our own brands that we created. And we host them using those different kitchens. Kitchens basically cook on our behalf.
How do you select because you just said now, which is through the research I couldn't find that, but you created your own kind of name brand, a house brand. How do you select these restaurants to make sure you're getting the best quality of food delivery to your customer?
Well, so first of all, we have to agree that restaurant needs to have an excess capacity. Majority of restaurants do, but there are still a few restaurants that they are not interested because they are busy all the time. And also from a business perspective, there is no point for us to tie up with restaurants who are understaffed or they cannot produce food fast enough, because it's bad experience for us, it's bad experience for them, and it's also damaging the brand. So we tie up with strong operators on the market. We have a lot of quality control tools implemented, like mystery shopping. We do kitchen audits. So we make sure that food reaches the customer in the best way. We work closely with kitchens. We educate kitchens. We provide them with packaging that is better quality. We show them how to pack food, cold, separate from hot, and make sure that it arrives to the customer in the best possible way. A lot of kitchens approaches us, so it's not like we have to search for kitchens every day. We actually have a huge backlog of kitchens that we're onboarding. But yeah, these are the conditions. So
what are some of the challenges you've faced onboarding or working with a kitchen or on the tech part? What are the challenges you faced?
Well, I will not lie. Since the beginning of the business, it's one big challenge. When we started, for the first 2 months, we were sending orders to our kitchens through WhatsApp. It took us 2 months to build the first version of the system that was already connecting brands and kitchens. There was nothing like this on the market available, no software available that could fulfill this business model. And then every day and every kitchen and every country we went to, it's a new challenge. That includes new integrations, fiscal devices, printing, in KSA, e-invoicing system. So every day we're having challenges. I guess now it's becoming better and better. When we went to Saudi, we started signing up a lot of chains. They have 80 locations, 100 locations. So we had to build tools to speed up onboarding process, like cloning menus, synchronizing menus, something that we didn't have before when we started here in the UAE. And yeah, we have challenges every.
It's interesting you're working with chains, because when you hear this, like the idea behind the cloud, you would think it's for more mom and pop shops and not big chains. How is it different? Like, how is it different dealing with a chain than a mom and pop, like a small restaurant?
So it's not that we targeted the system to any specific. Simply when we started signing up kitchens here in the UAE, most of them are single or maybe 2-3 locations. So it was perfectly fine for our onboarding team to create the menus for these locations. But when you sign up a chain of 100 locations, that's a different story. Manually, this is what I was saying in the beginning, not having this sort of automated and manually creating those menus for each kitchen, each location, each brand. And we are hosting multiple brands from one location.
Right.
You can imagine that 100 locations is 300 menus, let's say, for the brand. It's a lot of work. It's a very lengthy process. So we always had small team of developers, and there's no point investing time in building tools for synchronizing menus between locations in the very beginning. It only happened when we went to Saudi and we realized that there is such a requirement. So the difference is, the time generally.
What countries are you functioning in? UAE, KSA? Are these the only two countries, or are you functioning in other countries too?
No, so we started in the UAE, then we expanded to Belgium and Lithuania. We wanted to test the expansion model. We never flew to these countries, to be honest. We just opened remotely. Now we went from these countries to Romania, Netherlands, UK, USA, KSA.
Why did you, and I like the approach you guys did. You went to Europe. Why didn't you expand in the like in the MENA region first, like UAE, KSA, Egypt, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar? Why did you take this path to Europe and not in the MENA region? Was there a reason behind it, or did it just happen?
No, I mean, there is no particular reason. First of all, these are good markets in terms of food delivery. So looking at the market cap on F&B industry in these countries, it's a good market. George had some connections in Lithuania as he studied in Lithuania. So we decided, let's test how it will work to launch our business model in completely different location. And it was a very good decision. We had a lot of learnings about customers' behaviors, cuisines, and experience in expanding as well. We've proven that we can go to any city, any country in the world, and it takes the same amount of time as launching city nearby.
Speaking about that, since with time, launching in different countries would become easier because you have the software built. Now it's about getting in the customer. What's your next target? Do you target working in the US, or is it just keeping it in the MENA region, Europe? Do you target going up to the US or bigger countries?
Well, we have a couple of options. At the moment, we are already in the US. We are already signing up chains in the US. And US is also another different market where signing up kitchens does not require physical presence, unlike, for example, Europe, where we have to physically sign the contract. In US, everything happens completely remotely. So it's another good experience that we have, from going to these countries. I guess in 2023, we will be optimizing because we have a huge chain of kitchens at the moment. We're focusing on optimizing sales and growing those kitchens to making sure that we provide the best product for them.
Okay. And as a startup, are you making your money off every order, or are you doing a deal with the customer? How does the cloud make money?
So when we partner with the kitchen, we agree on the wholesale price.
Okay.
So we buy the food from the
Okay.
kitchen and we sell it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
B2B2C
Okay.
model, we control the final price.
Uh, as a I love the cloud and I love the idea behind it. As a developer today, let's say you weren't working on the cloud, you didn't meet George. What's an idea, startup idea you see out a gap point, a problem in the world? You're like, I have to solve this problem. I have to build this startup to solve this problem.
My gosh, to be honest, good question. The cloud keeps me so busy day and night that I don't have time to think about any other ideas and ventures. But I think it would be something related to decentralized systems and
Okay.
blockchain development in general. I'm not saying this just because it's a hot subject at the moment, but reality is that there is a lot of dependencies nowadays on third parties for every single system. And what these guys are doing, what's happening on the in the open source area with decentralized system is truly amazing. I've seen already fully functional decentralized platforms which don't have any central source. It's really amazing. So I think it would be something related to that.
Okay. Here's kind of a philosophical question. Do you think is it healthy, or is it possible that we'll ever get to full decentralization? Or do we want to get there, or we don't want to get there?
That depends. Like everything has pros and cons, you know. Having things centralized, of course, allows some level of control and authority, while not having this opens up to a lot of threats, I would say. But it's not like it doesn't exist at the moment. It does. So I believe that if people will focus on creating these decentralized systems for the good cause and good purpose, it will be beneficial for everyone.
Okay. Kamil, great episode, honestly. I've learned a lot from you in every aspect. I love what you're doing. So thank you for being here. Are you hiring at the cloud? How could people learn more about what you're doing? Any plugins you want to put on, feel free.
All right. We have a website, although you will not find much about us on the website, because the website is purely directed to our restaurant partners. In terms of our brands, you will find them everywhere. Deliveroo, Talabat, Zomato here in the UAE. You will find a lot of our brands, and you should try.
Sounds good. Thank you again for being here, Kamil.
Thanks.